Let's bring in president of the American Principles Project, Terry Schilling. Terry, admittedly, we do not know where these threats came from, who issued these threats, but how did we reach this point, Terry?
Well, thanks so much for having me, Todd and Carly. I think we reached this point through several different things. I think first and foremost, the insane and hysterical rhetoric from the progressive media outlets in this country has really ratcheted things up. And we saw the assassination attempts, the multiple assassination attempts, and we still have to deal with death threats. But also, I think people like Tom Homan, because they're taking on the drug cartels, the very powerful and dangerous drug cartels from Mexico, I think that there's probably a lot of threats there. And so we have to get this job done. We have to follow through. We have to make sure that these drug cartels know that we're serious and that we're coming for them and that we're not going to be intimidated.
Yeah, and if you think about the people who were targeted, Elise Stefanik has a 3-year-old baby. Pete Hegseth, in his X post, said that his 7 children were asleep when police came over to his house and told him and his wife that there was a credible bomb threat. And I think we need to stop this before events like this become the norm and don't shock the public conscience where people say, oh, a death threat to a public official, that happens all the time. But unfortunately, former FBI Deputy Director Andrew McCabe does feel like this is just an everyday occurrence. Listen to this.
This has become a very, very common aspect of life for really anyone who is in a high profile or even remotely controversial position. It's been going on for years.
And now he's being accused of downplaying this threat despite being a former member of the FBI. Do you think that was his intention? And what do you feel about those comments?
Look, I think that these are very serious threats. I think that the FBI needs new leadership. These people are all over the place. But at the end of the day, the reason that this is becoming a regular thing with these death threats against public officials is because it's becoming a regular thing to call each other Nazis and the worst names in the books, every type of bigotry, racist, homophobic, transphobic, all this stuff. It just needs to be toned down. And I think you'll start to see people getting back to their lives and back to normalcy.
Yeah, this absolutely cannot be the norm going forward. It's not how we run America. Meantime, Terry, file this under, well, that was quick. Trump says Mexico will stop the flow of migrants after speaking with Mexican President Claudia Sheinbaum, Pardo, full name, this following the tariff threats. The president-elect posted the new president of Mexico. She has agreed to stop migration through Mexico and into the United States, effectively closing our southern border. We also talked about what can be done to stop the massive drug inflow into the United States. Look, you never want to say game, set, match this soon, but this is a huge step in the right direction, right, Terry?
No, I think that's right. And I think that these foreign leaders that President Trump dealt with in his first term understand that he's being sent to Washington, D.C. with a mandate this time. They know that they threw everything against him and that the American people are behind him. And what could be more scary for these nations knowing that we're actually going to go for it this time. But I think President Trump's already delivering, promises made, promises kept, and we need to keep this up and keep it going further.
Yeah, no doubt. It was shocking when this came down to some people, I'm sure, just because of what Trump said or what Todd said. I just called you Trump. Oh, my goodness.
Sure.
It just made you the president of the United States. He's not even in office yet, and he's already talking to the leaders and says that he solved problems. The president of Mexico posted on X that she spoke with Trump over the phone and discussed strengthening collaboration on security issues and that the conversation was excellent. So more to come on that front. Speaking of the former president, he recently posted his Thanksgiving message on X. This is what he said just a few hours ago. Happy Thanksgiving to all, including the radical left lunatics who have worked so hard to destroy our country, but who have miserably failed and will always fail because their ideas and policies are so hopelessly bad. Well, he's acting on those words because, according to the Washington Post, the president-elect's advisors are discussing ways to strip federal resources from Chicago and other Democrat-run cities if they refuse to participate in deportation of undocumented illegal immigrants next year. Mayor Brandon Johnson out of Chicago already responded saying Chicago will not be intimidated. So it looks like, as the Washington Post says, that we're headed for a showdown. How does this go?
Well, I think we all know who wins these battles between the federal government and the states. It's going to be the federal government. These cities like Chicago and like Denver and like Los Angeles, they've all become way too dependent on federal assistance. And so Donald Trump is exactly right here forcing them to choose between importing all the criminals and illegal immigrants they want and the federal dollars. You've got to uphold federal law if you're going to be in this country. You can't break the law. We heard for so long, guys, that no one's above the law for the last, 8 years or so? No one's above the law, including these mayors who are harboring illegal immigrants.
Yeah, they're going to talk tough now, but once that money flow stops, they're going to be quiet. Let me just say, on behalf of Melania and I, would like to thank you, Terry, for joining us today on your Thanksgiving.
Ooh, I've always wanted to be a first lady. What would that be like? Terry, thank you so much. Happy Thanksgiving to you and your beautiful family. We appreciate you waking up early.
I'm Steve Ducey.
I'm Brian Kiley.